What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. This is the January 2018 mailbag, first mailbag of the year. Hopefully you guys had fun sending in questions. We're going to hopefully have fun answering those questions. That's how mailbag works. You do a Q, we do an A. And I'm
giggity.
It sounded a lot better in my brain. Well, the people that are going to be talking about those A's, I'm a little bit tired today, are myself, as always, Tony Mango, and you heard him chuckling a second ago, the Dace Man himself, Chris Dace.
What's up, guys?
And Callum Wiggins.
Tony, you're a classic A. Oh.
I used to be a Q. I was like giving out gadgets and shit. You know? I don't know how that works.
Ampersand.
I'm so glad that you know the word ampersand. Not many people know ampersand. I like that word. It's a good word.
Right? It makes me feel smart. That's my one thing for 2018.
It's like the word esoteric. It's like when you pop it out, and every once in a while, people are just like, huh? And you're like, there's a word. There's a word of the day calendar. Which reminds me of a great Simpsons joke. I'm just going to start off. We always end up talking about the Simpsons at some point on the mailbag, so why not before we even get started? Where Carl is like talking about how he's got this word of the day calendar, and I forget the word that he uses or something like that, and they all look at him, and he's like, word of day calendar, whatever. And then Mr. Burns comes into the lunchroom, and he's like, oh, look at that, Mr. Burns and he looks at the calendar, he's like, entered the room.
I think it's the word concur is the first one.
Oh yeah, I concur. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's the show used to be so fucking good. Anyway, we'll actually be talking about that in a couple of questions or so. That's somewhere down the line that actually comes up. But this is going to be Dace's first mailbag. Yay!
Be prepared for like the most dumb answers ever. Yeah, I said most dumb.
The most dumb. The most dumbester.
The dumberest.
Well, let's start off with Ryan Stotts. His first question: do you ever do a New Year's resolution? Nope. I don't think I've ever done a single New Year's resolution in my life.
I used to. I just now don't trust myself to keep them, and I don't want to deal with the disappointment straight into the new year. Just knowing that, I said I was going to do something, but yeah, just never going to happen.
It's like, oh, well, you know, I said I won't curse as much, and it's like, Happy New Year, fuck yeah, damn it.
Yeah, I lose that one pretty early.
It's like I look at the clock, I say, I'm giving up drinking this year, and then I finish my beer.
I kind of just don't see the point with, like, giving yourself an arbitrary day. Most people end up doing, like, I'm going to lose weight, and it's like, well, then start now. Why do you have to start on January 1st?
You always start Monday when you lose weight. I'm going to start Monday, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Next Monday. Well,
yeah,
which next Monday? Well, 8 Mondays from now, still next Monday.
Yeah. And next thing you know, it's New Year's Day. Yeah, it works that way.
And then you go, next New Year's Day.
That gives you a lot more leeway.
Mm-hmm.
Most people tend to wait for something a bit more pivotal, so they'll say, I'm going to start exercising soon, and they only start doing it when they suffer like heart failure or something.
Yeah, and then it kind of gets like more like, well, do I have to change my diet too? Can't I just sort of do that? And you know, yeah, if you want to lose weight, don't start a New Year's resolution. Start it like, actually, the best thing for you to do is to start it in like September or something. If you can get through Halloween candy, Thanksgiving, Christmas cookies, all that kind of stuff, then you're good. Because by then you've already gotten into the habit, and January, February, March rolls around, you're used to that kind of stuff, and before you know it, you have a summer body, and then summer passes by in 3 months, and you realize, what the hell did I do all that work for? I've only went to the beach a couple times. Then you start eating again, and by next Thanksgiving, you're a fat fuck again. Point being, New Year's resolutions. Don't waste your time. Question number 2. Would you rather never have TV again or the WWE Network again? It sounds kind of strange, but I'd rather not have the TV again, because you could at least watch TV through the internet. But the WWE Network, I ain't paying fucking God knows how much money for a pay-per-view per month. What is it, like $60 now or something like that if you order it separately? Fuck that, man. We're trying to find old streams again, like what I used to do back in the day. It's impossible now. What about you guys? TV goes the way of the Stone Age, or WWE Network gets the boot in the ass?
Assuming it's the way that you said that you can still use like Hulu, Netflix, and all that crap, I would probably get rid of TV. But if they mean like I don't get to watch TV shows ever again, WWE Network's out.
Oh, if that's the case, then you got to get rid of the network.
Yeah, it's a bit too like open ended. This question, you need to be a bit more specific with the slight stipulations of I can't watch any other TV show ever again, and I can only watch stuff on WWE Network, or the other way around. Because like out of the even the wrestling networks I'm subscribed to, WWE Network is my second favorite, so I can't even defend it on that scale either.
What's number one? Netflix?
Oh no, well, in the wrestling terms of thing, it's New Japan World.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I watch that. Well, I don't watch that as frequently, but I'd rather give up WWE Network than that.
Actually, we have a question about New Japan later on.
I know, I'm looking forward to it.
The question number 3. This is probably going to be the last one that I keep track of. The number of the question. Favorite entrance of all time? Hands down, The Undertaker. I mean, we've had, like, per year, different things have been better. And, like, I like Naomi's and different things like that. But nothing beats The Undertaker for me.
If it's a general one, I'd probably go with... as a general one, I'd probably go with Jericho. Just because I like the music and his whole mannerisms going through it, especially as it's changed through the years as well. He's always freshened it up. But if we're going for like a specific entrance, I'd go with either CM Punk's entrance at Money in the Bank 2011 or Shawn Michaels' entrance at SummerSlam 2002, the one where he makes his big return.
Now, what if it was a sergeant or a colonel one instead of a general one?
Well, if it's a colonel one, he should have been in the KFC Rumble.
I was thinking Colonel Mustafa. What about you, Dace? What's your favorite entrance of all time?
I'd have to go with Bobby Roode and any of his NXT entrances.
Ooh, those are good ones too.
Yeah.
They're rather, what's that G word I'm thinking of?
Great.
Good.
General? Somebody listening is like, just say it. Just say it already. It's messing me off. No, we're moving on. Do you think that Matt and Jeff will ever be in the Hall of Fame? We got to all agree on this one. Definitely, right? Like, I mean, why wouldn't they be?
Unless Jeff murders someone.
Yeah, if they Benoit something, then...
If you'd asked me 2 years ago, I would have been on the fence about it. But now it's pretty much certainty.
I think everybody but Christian.
Poor Christian, man. Like, when is that going to happen?
They're just dicks. They're just going to wait until he's like dead.
That'd be great if like he ends up having to induct a couple more people.
He probably will induct the Dudley Boys.
Or they just sort of do like how they have the Legacy Award thing now, where they group in a bunch of people because they know that nobody's going to care about, like, I don't know, like, I can't even think of their goddamn names because nobody cares. That's kind of the point. You know, they bring in these people that are so old that the current generation doesn't recognize and stuff like that. They get to a point where they do that for the people from like the Attitude Era, and it ends up being like all the leftover people that haven't been inducted from different stables before. So it ends up being like Christian and X-Pac and
Al Snow.
But he gets inducted as Blue Dot instead.
Yeah. I was going to say, you could get a Stone Cold to induct him and say, can I induct you? Can I call you Jay when I induct you?
That was so awkward when that happened. It was so strange.
No,
like,
you
can I
can't
call
call
you
me
Jay? Well, we mentioned it now or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I already lost track of what number we are on. Do you think that they will have Cena win another Royal Rumble before he retires? I really hope so. He deserves it, I think. Right now, he is one of, I think it was 7 people that have won more than one Royal Rumble, but Stone Cold Steve Austin is the only one that has won 3. And I'd like to see him be the other one that won 3 of them. I think he deserves it. And I also think that he deserves to not only win that, but go on to WrestleMania and win his 17th world title when he does. What about you guys?
I think he doesn't need it anymore. I like the ability of the Royal Rumble in order to build a new star to fight for the championship. Whereas John Cena is at the stage where he could literally just go up to whoever the champion is and say, I want a match for you at WrestleMania, and people would just go along with it. You could use the Royal Rumble in so much better ways, and I'm hoping this year is the start of a trend where they give people that haven't won it before or haven't been in the main event scene for too long the opportunity to win this match, as opposed to just giving it to people that have won it multiple times already.
Yeah, he doesn't need to tie and break every record there was ever made. So, no, he doesn't deserve a third one.
He needs
Zack
to
Ryder
also get 13 eliminations and beat Roman Reigns.
Yeah. He can have the women's one if he wants. I'm cool with that.
I wonder what the hell they would name him if that's the case.
Nikki Bella.
He wears the Fearless shirt and everything.
Yeah.
Actually, this next question has to deal with this a little bit. When will Cena win his next title? Which, of course, doesn't have to be a world title, but I'm hoping his next title is the Universal Championship. I can't really picture him winning another title, but maybe the Intercontinental at some point, because he's never won that one. That'd be kind of interesting. I don't think he's going to win one in 2018, though. I think that if he wins another championship, it'll be 2019. But he might actually be done winning championships now that he's like kind of not sticking around all that much anymore. If you guys have any indication of what you'd like to see or what you predict at the very least, he'll win the next title.
In terms of the way that I would do it, just to fall into the trap of fantasy booking, as if that's ever going to happen, I'd have Cena challenge for the World Championship at WrestleMania 35, so 2019, but I'd have him lose the match, because you go through this period of him going in and out of WWE, as he has been doing recently. So you try and build up a story of the fact that he's going in and out, so he's never in really good ring shape. So he challenges for the title, but he loses. And then you start putting doubt into people's minds, is he actually ever going to win like a 17th world title? And then you start building up a story of him from like a final full-time run with the company almost. So between like a year and 6 months where he's just focused constantly on WWE. And then he wins the title at like WrestleMania 36. I think it should be at WrestleMania that he wins it. It's a big moment, so it should be on the biggest stage possible.
I think ultimately he will win gold sooner than I like.
If that's 2 years from now, it's still sooner, kind of.
Yep, exactly. I will not be happy either way. So
it's literally ever.
Yep, because I think he's hit that Shawn Michaels level. Like, he doesn't need anything anymore. He comes back. He's got that level of like, oh, who's got the Cena match? Kind of like they do with Taker and stuff. So
I just think it's I agree with you that he doesn't need any more championships, but it feels kind of awkward that he's sitting on the same level as Ric Flair at the moment. Like, if he stays that way, it seems, well, why do we have two 16-time world champions when one of them could easily be a 17-time one instead? And then
obviously
there's always
Ric Flair.
Yeah, and then there's always the doubt that, oh my God, they're making Roman Reigns a 17-time world champion. That's why they stopped.
How many is he going to have when he wins it from Brock this year?
4.
That'll be his 4th?
Yep.
Why do I think it's going to be his 5th? Huh.
He has 3 WWE championships that he won in the space of like 4 months or whatever, and then he hasn't won one since.
That is awful.
Ooh, we have 2 more from Ryan. When do you think Aleister Black will be on the main roster? And yes, I botched his name. You actually only just missed an A. Plenty of people have spelled plenty of other things far, far worse. Give yourself credit, Ryan. And the other one being, would you like to see an Aleister Black versus Finn Balor match? Well, eventually when he does come onto the main roster, then that is a possibility. I don't think he's coming until 2019 anymore. I just wrote up something about the 205 Live general manager and the whole Cruiserweight championship situation, and in the process, I realized that they don't bill Aleister Black as being within the 205 Live limit anymore. He's actually billed at 215. So I used to think that Black was a potential for 205 Live, and now I don't think that that's the case. With Gargano losing his match at TakeOver, I think it's all but certain that Aleister Black takes that title from Andrade Cien Almas at TakeOver New Orleans, and I think that he's going to be holding that championship for, if not the entirety of 2018, the majority of it. So I'm thinking his main roster debut comes at the earliest at the Royal Rumble next year, 2019. And when he does come onto the main roster, yeah, him versus Finn Balor, that should be fun. What do you guys think? When should we see him, and would you like to see that match?
The match it would be. Oh, I was going to say the match itself with Finn Balor would be obviously an excellent match. I'm not saying it's one of the ones that I've thought, oh, this is a dream match scenario, but I'm sure it will happen. I'm sure it'll be very good. The earliest Black will be on the main roster will be towards the end of 2018, probably like you say, at the start of 2019, because he's definitely winning the NXT Championship and he's definitely going to hold it for quite a while. I can see him being like the Rock for NXT. He's the kind of guy that strikes me as someone who would be a definite main eventer and top star in NXT, but when he gets to WWE, it's going to start getting a bit murky for him.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see him in 2018. I think the Royal Rumble was an indicator that even though he won that match in NXT TakeOver, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They still had Adam Cole come instead. So to me, that means that they're banking on him hanging in NXT for a little while. But him versus Finn Balor, that'd be cool. As long as they don't do like Balor versus Wyatt and drag it out really long.
Yeah, some kind of like, let's start at Battleground and end at Battleground.
Yeah.
Let's go to Andre's questions. This is for your mailbag. I don't know if this is how you submitted or not. Yes, it is. I got the mailbag question, so it worked.
That's a good question. Next one.
Yeah. I should have separated it like that. That would have been kind of funny. I think you got Nigel McGuinness all wrong. He reminds me of Lord Alfred Hayes from back in the day, a different sound of the commentary team. I like the British accent on there as a change of pace. And listen to Percy Watson. When the Street Profits and Ember Moon come, you can tell that those are his friends, and he gets more excited, and in his excitement, I think I see something in him. I know, but listen to this. If he can be a little bit more like Booker T, then and be tougher, maybe. Love to hear what you guys think when you talk about it. Okay, so basically it's Andre is saying that he thinks that we're not giving Nigel McGuinness and Percy Watson enough credit. I don't mind the accent for Nigel McGuinness. It's more so his inflection that bugs me. Because, I mean, I like the British accent perfectly fine, but when he does like the Vince McMahon thing, where everything is almost like he's fake excited, and if he were to just be like, oh my god, like, holy shit, then that would be great, but it's always just like, oh my god, holy shit, oh, this is the best ever, kind of thing. And you can tell more genuine excitement for somebody like a Matt Stryker than somebody like what Vince McMahon used to be back in the day, or like the fake laugh that Vince used to have on commentary. What would be? You're like, you're really just forcing this. Percy, I still just don't see it. When he does get excited a little bit here and there for certain people, but he just doesn't have it in him, I don't think. So yeah, I still disagree. How do you guys feel about Nigel and Percy?
I don't like people roping me in with you and Payden and Kaylin's dislike of Nigel McGuinness. I've always tried to defend him in this sense against. I can understand like your criticisms of him. He does come across as a little bit like forced in his excitement, but at least he's showing excitement. Whereas a lot of commentators on the main roster are just a little bit bland and don't really show a lot of either personality or interest in what they're seeing. They're more interested in just getting themselves over or just speaking matter-of-factly about stuff. I think his combination with Maro works very well. Percy, I don't see. I agree that I don't see anything in him, and I'd prefer it if NXT was just a two-man team with him and with Nigel and Maro.
I hate the entire NXT announce team. I think they're awful. I watched a snippet of the takeover event, and I know Nigel wasn't there, but I had to put it on mute. It was just they're too much. Like it makes me feel like, yeah, this is why people make fun of me watching wrestling when I listen to like those people commentate.
You don't like Morrow having a seizure?
It's like he was trying to be JR with a stupid catchphrase.
Mamma mia!
You can't repeat the Skittles magic, dude. Just let it go.
Morrow's like I like Morrow's enthusiasm, and I don't dislike Morrow, but at the same time, I think he's overrated, and it is a little annoying after like 2 matches to hear him just kind of be he. It's not that he forces anything because he doesn't force anything. It's almost that he forces it out of his mouth, like the actual, like,
Mhm.
like if he's like struggling to breathe, kind of, and you're like, I just need to breathe. He's just kind of like, then the WWE is whatever. Like, oh my god, it's fucking amazing. And you're just like, oh, dude, relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious if Jeremy Borash ends up being a part of this now that he's brought into WWE.
I don't like him either.
I mean,
I'm like 50-50. I haven't really watched enough Impact to be able to judge.
Borash has always been more of a play-by-play guy, so if he was to come in, he'd have to take Naro's spot if it was going to be in NXT. So I think it's unlikely. And I don't.
SmackDown.
Oh yeah, you could go to there. You go basically anywhere on the main roster, and I'd be fine with it. But I think if he's being used in NXT, it'll be behind the scenes, and I think that's fine. He's definitely a lot more creative than TNA would suggest.
Yeah, I actually, a lot of people are thinking that Borash could be on the commentary team. I actually think he's going to be groomed to be the next Kevin Dunn.
That'd be like grooming gone wrong then. Have you seen Kevin Dunn?
To be a different, Kevin Dunn, but better. When you learn all the mistakes and fix everything. Question number, I don't know, we're like 12 or something like that for now. I got one more. It's kind of funny. He actually has a third one after this. So you lied to us, Andre. You had more than one more. I've always loved David versus Goliath matches in wrestling, especially when David wins, particularly David. So I wanted to know what your dream David versus Goliath matchups are. For example, I would love to see Gargano somehow beat Strowman. I cannot think of any David versus Goliath matches off the top of my head. Maybe David Otunga versus
the Goliath.
Yeah, the Goliath. No, I actually can't think of any, barring the joke, that I kind of want to see.
There's one that we were always teased about, but it never got due to medical conditions, and I would have liked to seen Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar.
Huh.
Daniel Bryan being like he was coming off the whole underdog storyline, and I think he was supposed to head into SummerSlam to face Brock Lesnar that year after winning the title, and to me that would have been interesting. The styles would have been fun to watch.
It'd be funny if that was the match they cleared him for.
Yeah. You can't do anything
match.
normal, but you can get beat to hell.
It's fine as long as you land on your shoulders for every German suplex. Should be fine.
The other one that I would have rather enjoyed is if they go back to like the Attitude Era type thing, and then they just like, you know what, I don't like you, Sasha Banks, so you're gonna face Braun Strowman. Like they just start putting women against Braun Strowman just for the sake of being assholes.
Well, did you guys see the mixed match challenge with Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss this week?
I saw the I didn't see the match itself. I saw the video after it of
the promo.
Them flirting. Yeah, them flirting with each other.
She is, I mean, literally half his height. And it was so funny to see afterward where he's just like, I think she's kind of cute. Whatever. It's like
The crowd started trying to get these hands. It's amazing.
That is a David versus Goliath matchup I'd like to see then. The two of them trying to figure that out.
I feel sorry for Buddy Murphy.
Oh, it's gonna be so funny if like they were hanging out backstage and it's just kind of like, so you ready for a match tomorrow and whatever. It's just kind of like, who's this guy? And it's like, oh, it's my fiance. Oh, huh, like that kind of thing. Like, you know, your girlfriend's kind of cute, like that kind of thing. He's like looking down at him like he's standing on a fucking ladder in comparison. Hey, broad, looking up in the sky. You can take her. The only other thing I could think of actually was if we could go back in time. Just because I was such a big fan of him back in the day, Shawn Michaels from 1996 as the height of his power as babyface. I guess him against Andre the Giant would be kind of fun, but it wouldn't be that good of a match. It just would have to be the best possible match that Andre could ever have because it's with Shawn Michaels, you know.
If,
Gargano
I was go-
Strowman, like that sounds kind of fun a little bit.
if I'm going for like a nowadays one, I think the only Goliath you can realistically use is Lesnar, just because people like Big Show or Mark Henry are semi-retired anyway, and they've lost enough matches that it doesn't really feel like a big deal to beat them, even if you are small. And Strowman should be protected right now, so I don't want to see him losing any matches to anybody of too low a height. I think it'd be good to make it slightly more realistic or understandable why David would beat a Goliath. You have Lesnar lose to either Nakamura or Aleister Black, just because they have like their main finishers are kicks that can basically come out of nowhere and could knock someone out for 3 seconds. So I think you could at least have some element of realism to it.
What would be the tallest WWE wrestler ever against the smallest? Max Mini, I think it's the smallest.
Giant Gonzalez.
Yeah, I think Gonzalez is the biggest legit height person.
Huh. Him or Kali, maybe? Dude,
I think he was taller than Kylie.
he was taller than Kali? What
Yeah,
about,
I'm pretty
oh, that other giant, oh my god, I'm blanking on
Andre?
his name. Not Andre, but around the older era, around like that. Fuck, what's his name? Yeah, he only popped up for like a match or something like that, whatever he is.
Steve.
Yeah, let's go with Steve. Steve against Max Mini. Why not go with it?
There's someone called a Giant Silver as well. He was pretty big.
Yeah, I think that's who I'm thinking of.
This is
Wait.
the biggest one.
Yeah, that might. Yeah, that is him.
This is the biggest person. I've just done a Google search for tallest WWE wrestler, so take that as you will. But it's Giant Gonzalez was 2.44 meters, so that's about, I don't know what that is in American. 8 feet tall.
Jesus.
So yeah, that's definitely the tallest.
Yeah, Giant Silva 7'2", Giant Gonzalez 8 foot. 8 foot fucking tall. My God.
Yeah.
5'10". He's God. He's half another person on top of me.
So I don't know how tall is Max Mini.
Oh, let's see here. Max Mini. His name's Suzuki? Okay, sure. Wait, actually, what's that name? Yeah, he is 3 foot 7.5 inches.
So that's
So
near.
how tall is Hornswoggle? Hornswoggle's 4.5 feet. So yeah, Max Mini, I got to assume it's probably the smallest.
That's like a 5 foot, almost a 5 foot difference.
If you stack Max Mini on top of me, that's Giant Gonzalez almost.
That's quite likely.
So yeah, let's give us that match. Even though I'm pretty sure Gonzalez is dead. Final one from, who are we at? Was it Andre, I think?
Yeah.
I don't know what this mixed match challenge bullshit is. That's a good way to start. But it just seems lame. Why the fuck wouldn't they do a King and Queen of the Ring tournament instead? Wouldn't that draw more eyeballs? I can think of 4 or 5 storylines for that, no problem. Sometimes it just feels like they don't want to succeed. Let me know what you guys think. Been a while since you did Superstar Scores. How about Seth Rollins and Honky Tonk Man? Seth Rollins, I would hold off on, because Superstar Scores I tend to like to do when it comes to somebody that's like their career is pretty much wrapped up or something. Honky Tonk Man, maybe we'll do him in the future. We didn't do a Superstar Scores last year at all, so we got to get around to one of them this year.
I know, I've not done one yet.
Yeah, it's the main issue why we haven't done a Superstar Scores is because the pay-per-views are double than what they used to be. It used to be just one a month, and we'd have to have more features to kind of fill in the space. Now, between pay-per-view coverage being every 2 weeks or so, it ends up making it, you throw the mailbag in there, you do the pay-per-view coverage, and then you do a couple other little things that are like guaranteed through like a Call the Spot or, Smark Announce Table or something like that. And before you know it, that eats up almost half of the year right there. But anyway, Mixed Match Challenge stuff. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen a King and Queen of the Ring tournament instead. And I guess the only reason why they didn't do that is because they just thought that this Mixed Match Challenge thing would be something different. But I cannot disagree with you. That would be so much better. What do you guys think?
I've had enough of the King of the Ring concept, not because of the concept itself, because I always thought it was really good, but and I like tournaments, so that's a good way of doing it. But first of all, it has the detriment of whoever wins it, just that becomes their gimmick, which has never worked, at least not since King Booker anyway. And also, they never actually end up pushing the winner to any sort of heights. They never get, in previous incarnations, they haven't been given championship opportunities or any sort of spotlight, really. All they do is they get a crown and they get stuck with the label king or queen for the rest of their time there. Like the stuff that happened with King Barrett has left quite a bad taste in my mouth for the entire concept. So I'm kind of glad they've retired it.
What do you think, Daze?
I miss the tournament aspect of it where like it meant something. Like if you won it and then you go on to SummerSlam to face the champion or something. The mixed match challenge has just been falling off the radar week after week. And I think last night, to me at least, was the most interesting. And hasn't it been all Raw stars to win so far?
Let's see. It was Banks and Balor, Strowman and Alexa, and
Miz and Asuka.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So, to me, it's not fun.
It's just like the real WWE shows, Raw is on top.
Yeah. So, I think it's a good experiment to try to get into Facebook Watch. And a good concept to kind of blend the men and the women into some kind of storyline outside of normal storylines. But I just don't think it's getting traction because it's Tuesday after 10. Me personally, I watch SmackDown on DVR, so Mixed Match Challenge is over by the time I get through the DVR of SmackDown, and I never watch 205 Live. But it's just, I think it's weird because it's only one match and it's 15 minutes. So if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it for sure.
I actually still don't get any notifications about it, even though I liked their page and I clicked that I want the notifications and stuff. They still never send them to me. It's really kind of strange. And every single time so far, when I've manually had to go onto their page and click onto it, I've had issues. So that's not helping them either. Last night, in particular, I could not get connected to that thing for the first, 3 minutes or so. It was, I think it was Braun's entrance is when I first got it to start playing. And by that point, Sammy and Becky had already come out. So you click on a Facebook video. I mean, Facebook Watch isn't the same as YouTube. It's still just a social media platform where it's just kind of people sharing, here's the next tasty video of somebody cooking chicken parm, or here's a funny clip of a panda rolling around in the snow. It's not anything that's sort of let me sit down and watch this program. And I don't think that this is going to work out all that well. Plus, like you said, it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. It's it's good for charity, but I don't have any investment in that. And once they give it to whatever charity that they were going to be giving the money to anyway, then that's the end of it. And it's highly doubtful that we're going to see any kind of pairing come out of this. Alexa and Strowman aren't going to win this and then become a couple on screen. It's not going to happen. So this will end with Miz and Asuka winning or something, and they'll give their money to the charity. And I think the Mixed Match Challenge ends the week before WrestleMania or so. So yeah. That's just sort of all right, well, now it's WrestleMania, then we just forget about it. And thankfully, at that point, we can stop hearing this song because I'm so sick and tired of hearing we're giving money to charity. They can play it 16 times in a row. I'm so goddamn tired of it. Just like with every WWE song.
I don't think it also helped them the timing they did it. They should have did this after Mania when there's really nothing going on.
Yeah.
You threw it in the middle of all the shit you're going on, and it just gets overpowered by everything else. So,
yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that. Unless maybe there's some kind of tax write-off thing that's why they're doing it now or something.
Yeah, XFL does shit.
you throw in essentially a non-canon tournament at a time where storylines matter the most.
That is one thing that I find kind of fun about it, though, is that you do get some little different like character moments here and there. Like now we have Mandy Rose is replacing Alicia Fox, so like maybe she's gonna show some character with Goldust, but maybe not. I don't know. And we did get the married couples teaming up, Jimmy Uso and Naomi and Lana and Rusev. So this might be the only time that they ever get to wrestle with each other. So yay for them. But yeah, I don't feel bad for the idea that this keeps dropping. It was something like a 30% drop from week 2 from week 1, or maybe even more than that. And I think it's another like 30% drop from week 2 to week 3. So we've gotten from like, I don't know, however many people watched it week 1, and they were like, I don't think I'm going to really give this another shot. And the week 2 people were like, I'll give it one more week. Wow, I'm anticipating week 4 to not be all that great. Let's move on to Declan's questions. Oh, this one, I hated this one. Being born in the year 2000, I need to ask you guys this. How does it make you feel knowing that anyone who was born in 2000 will turn 18 years old this year?
He's what's wrong with this country.
This is how bad it is. I remember I'm old enough now that Conan O'Brien used to have a sketch that revolved around, in the year 2000, it's going to be this crazy, like, stuff is going to happen. And I remember that. I liked that sketch. The whole, in the year 2000, in the year 2000, the kind of thing. So we had a time frame where I was watching late night television that's aimed for adults and older people and everything. And I was understanding jokes about, wow, that's far enough in the distance that wouldn't that be funny if this happens and whatever. You weren't even born until that time frame. Where's that noose from the other day, Days? What was that joke that I was talking about? Where I was like, am I dating myself here? And I was the only one that, oh God, what was it?
Oh, you talked about what it was, whatever Boston Market used to be called.
Oh, that's right. It was, yeah, somebody who said that Boston Market in our area is going by Philly Market. Is that what it is?
Somebody took a towel and pretty much put it over the Boston part for the Eagles.
Yeah, and I was like, am I showing my age by saying that I remember when it was all called Boston Chicken? And everybody gave me this look of like, huh? And I was just like, oh, I'm going to go now.
Back to the action. I just don't like this guy, so I'm not going to answer his question.
Once you reach to that 30-year-old age, Callum, it's going to hit you even harder.
I took my sister, who just turned 21, out to drink, and that hurt. Because I had to go to bed by 10 because I was in pain. It's like, no, what is happening to me? So she was 97. You're 2000.
Yeah, I mean, I'm now past the mid-20s threshold, so I'll slowly but surely get to feel that a little bit more. I don't really feel it at the moment, so haven't really reached that part of me yet. It's more when you see like someone who's considerably younger than you doing something that you wished you were doing as a kid. Like if they become like a really like sports athlete or something like that, or some sort of football star or basketball player or something like that, and you're 25 eating Doritos in your bed or something like that. And this guy who's like 7 or 8 years younger than you is earning considerably more money, and he's famous and is involved in huge moments that people remember forever, and you're just like, okay.
And then you reach 30 and Doritos in bed sounds amazing. You just come full circle, just like, fuck it, this is my life now.
Yeah, you can't even bother to reach over to the bag anymore.
You know, it's really sad for me every once in a while, and this happened to me about like 3 weeks ago or so. I instinctively referred to a 20-something-year-old as a kid. I was like, oh, that's a good kid or whatever, and I'm like, this dude's like 23. Like, I'm able to call these people kids now? No. I feel like I'm still 19 sometimes. And then sometimes I wake up and I feel like I'm 50 because it's like my back hurts and I need to lay down and whatever.
You'll see me telling them to get off your lawn.
Well, I mean, I don't want them on my lawn. So.
I do have advice for him, though. At the age of 18, you're going to think that bouncing off the ground, bouncing off walls, doing slip and slides and shit like that, that you're invincible. You will feel that shit when you turn 29 and 30. Trust me. That's the biggest mistake I made. Was like, oh, I'm invincible. I could totally just, take a suplex onto the concrete and walk away fine. No, I still feel it.
And as an 18-year-old, do everything.
Yeah.
Like,
and everyone.
And everyone, yeah. Same thing. If there is a challenge ahead of you that isn't something like slamming your back on a fucking concrete or a Tide Pod challenge, which is so goddamn stupid. I don't know why that's still a thing after all this.
That's the future.
Yeah, maybe that's even the worst thing to feel about is even the age thing. It's that there's 18-year-olds that are eating Tide Pods, and they're gonna run the country at some point. But yeah, that's the best advice. Just don't be 28 10 years from now and going, man, I wish I would have blah blah blah. Go ahead and do it, because you're not gonna get a chance to when you start getting older. You're gonna start just being like, oh, nah, I lost that part of life, and be miserable. And then you eat your Doritos in bed.
Okay, I wasn't feeling depressed beforehand. Now I feel depressed.
Yeah, that's a harsh question.
I think the big question is, though, regular or Cool Ranch?
Go regular. Yeah,
I go regular.
Cool Ranch are for terrorists and millennials.
And another one from Declan here. I was listening to an episode of Bruce Pritchard's podcast, try to say that 5 times fast, when he went into detail about the Savage versus Hogan story from WrestleMania 5, Mega Powers Explode. In your opinion, was Randy Savage actually the babyface, considering Hogan's tried to steal his woman? Yeah, kinda. It's weird. It's like Savage is overbearing and a douche, but Hogan is really being shady. Like, and Miss Elizabeth isn't doing any favors for anybody, because she's basically like hugging Hogan over Savage and all that, and it's this weird like domestic abuse situation story, which you would not expect that to be the case with the two biggest baby faces in the company around that time frame. You go from like, say your prayers and eat your vitamins and whatever, and like, the cream always rises to the crop and you just gotta believe in yourself and whatever, to like, are you looking at my girl kind of thing. It's they're all like tweeners, kind of, including Miss Elizabeth.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't really gone back and looked at this storyline I wasn't watching at the time, and I wasn't alive at the time, I haven't gone back to really look at it in its full details. From what I've gathered about it, it does seem like, I didn't see any implicit elements of Hogan trying to steal Elizabeth. I think the idea in the story was he was just being a friend. I know, obviously, you can take different connotations of that, but I don't think there was anything explicitly lined out that Hogan was attempting to take her away from Savage. So in that sense, I don't really see Savage as the babyface. I would see him more as more sympathetic in the fact that he was WWE champion at the time, and Hulk Hogan was stealing his thunder at every opportunity, which is what Hulk Hogan built a career around, essentially.
I mean, he was called Thunder Lips.
But I'd see that as more of a reason to have sympathy towards Savage, more in the sense that obviously we know now in real life that he used to actually beat Elizabeth up, so I can't really have too much sympathy in that regard.
I think Hogan's always been a bad guy. The 80s were just too dumb to realize it. That's my opinion.
Oh, look at what happened at Royal Rumble 93. Royal Rumble 92.
With
he
Flair?
Eliminates Sid, and he got eliminated fair and square.
Yep.
So he causes Ric Flair to win the title by being an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah, Hogan has always been that way of. It's more along the lines of he's a good guy, and in that sense, he kind of feel like he can get away with everything. It's kind of the way WWE has booked its baby faces ever since, because most of the people, look at Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock, they're good guys, but they're assholes.
Not John Cena.
No,
he's gotten away with it.
No, he's like a juvenile, 12-year-old with a lot of his promos and stuff like that. Just say, "Oh, have you got any nuts in your jockstrap or something like that.
Yeah,
So he's
they're
not.
like,
He's not
we got Hogan, who was essentially Mr. Steal Your Girl for a storyline. And we've got Austin, who was like, yeah, I'm just going to attack like invalids and stuff. And then we've got John Cena. Should we do the same kind of thing? Nah, how about we just have him make poop jokes? I was always more of a Savage guy than Hogan, though. I don't know. Something about him. I always thought he was more entertaining. Ooh, I don't know how to pronounce his name for sure. Hopefully I don't botch it, but sent in from Travis Nuclums? Knuckles? Is this, Ugandan Knuckles? I like that
You do
meme.
not know the way.
That's such a good meme. I like that. It's not going to last at all, but I like it. So sent in from Ugandan Knuckles. Sorry, Travis. Do you think Mojo Rawley has been doing a good job as a heel so far? Not at all. Not at all. His music doesn't fit. His character isn't really going anywhere. He hasn't changed a bit. He is at best looking at losing that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal match at WrestleMania. He's not getting any other priority spot.
I think they made a mistake there. They probably should have turned Ryder heel. Ryder could have had more of a justification to turn on Mojo than I think Mojo did on Ryder. And then Mojo could have walked away as a hero beating Ryder. Not that I think Ryder should ever lose.
No, I think they made the right decision making like Rawley the heel just due to the fact that Ryder's washed up and nothing really. So it's hard not to feel sympathetic towards him just because like he's a loser and any WWE fan that is a loser can get behind him.
Wait, are you a Mojo fan?
I'm more of a Mojo fan than a Ryder fan. I know that. But,
you missed the boat, man.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm probably regretting my decision to make him one of my ones to watch this year, because it's not really going the way I would have hoped. But I think he's better. He's better as a heel, but they just haven't been putting a lot of focus on him. It's just a case of turning him heel so he can have a short match with Zack Ryder on a pre-show, and then they just clearly had no other plans for him. So I feel sorry for him in that regard, because I think if they did put a bit more focus on him, I think he would develop and get into his role and establish an actual character for himself. Now he's just stuck into a bit of like a go-between between a new character and being the old hyperactive jock that he's always been.
I think the problem is that they didn't change his character at all. All they did was make him a bad guy.
Yeah,
he's still running to the ring and just being like, I'm all amped up, and that's a babyface type thing. Give him more of what he is, like that kind of douchebag attitude. Have him like they could even keep the same music, that whole like kind of thing, and have him walk slower to the ring, and just sort of get this, oh, I know fucking Gronk and like that kind of thing. That'll get him booed. If you just have him bolt to the ring like he's always done, people don't know the difference anymore. He's Mojo Rawley. They haven't been paying attention, He's on SmackDown.
Perfect opportunity this weekend to just piss off Philadelphia, and they squandered that.
Yeah, they didn't do anything with a promo ahead of time for that or something. That would have been a perfect chance.
He would have got
heat,
He would have got booed out of that building if he mentioned anything regarding Gronk. Especially since like NXT event that Saturday kicked off with "fuck Tom Brady." So
basically, any positive that's happened since his heel turn, he's been doing himself through like a couple of good social media promos. But other than that, WWE aren't getting behind him. So I appreciate that he's trying to go out of his own way to improve to build his character and improve some sort of reaction with the fans. But clearly they don't have any interest in making this a bigger deal than it is.
Or you know what? Did you see the thing with, speaking of the Tide Pods I mentioned earlier, with Gronkowski doing the whole like, no, don't eat Tide Pods thing? Make Mojo that character that does. They give him a heel because he's like, hey kids, eat fucking Tide Pods. I'm a douchebag. Go ahead and do it. Like that kind of thing. We don't have a heel character that is like the social media asshole. The YouTube douche kind of thing.
Well, you saw what happened when Baron Corbin tried to do that. Lost his Money in the Bank briefcase.
When he tried to do like a social media thing?
Well, he did a thing where he essentially like started bad mouthing a lot of people on Twitter, and then he started unfollowing like WWE and a load of other accounts, and then a week or so later,
that was like a real douchebag thing. I mean, like character wise, like make Mojo Rawley Logan Paul. Do that, you know? Have him come out.
Go to the Japanese forest with a camera.
Yeah, NXT TakeOver, whatever that Japanese forest is. It could be like a Hangman's Noose match, you know?
Oh,
like,
God.
Make it a situation where you go like, oh, fuck this guy, you know? Like, that would be a way to get some heat, you know?
Yeah, he needs genuine heat behind him. He doesn't have anything at the moment.
No.
I think WWE's too scared to actually do something like that.
Oh, they definitely are.
Yeah, because like imagine if like he does say people, oh, you should be eating Tide Pods, and I know most people would be just going, oh, he's just being an arsehole trying to convince people to do it, and then someone actually does it, and they go, we're suing WWE because they told my kid to eat Tide Pods, and
Isn't it a shame that this is the culture that we're in nowadays, where it's like you have to prioritize people getting upset about things more than anything else, and it's just kind of like, oh, let's make sure that we lock up our fucking detergent because idiots are drinking it and shit. And it's like, well, you know what? If they're dumb enough to do it, then natural selection serves a purpose. And if Mojo Rawley tells you to do anything and you do it, then natural selection. Let's move to Isaac Allen's questions. Is Lesnar versus Lashley a match you'd want to see? Not really. I don't really like Bobby Lashley all that much, but it's better than some of the options that we've got in the future.
You haven't seen Bobby Lashley since he left WWE, have you?
Nope.
I watched a few matches from Impact Wrestling. He's definitely a lot better. He's actually got a character now, and he actually can talk on the microphone, which is weird to say. When
you're a bastard, not that thing.
I mean, he's still got the lisp, but he can at least like carry it off a little bit more. He's more like the Mike Tyson with a lisp, as opposed to just like a guy with a speech impediment. But I'm not saying I'm desperate to see that match at all, but it would be decent to see. Like, you'd kind of have to put Lashley over in that scenario, but just to give him some influence coming back into the fold. But it's definitely not something that I'm going to be like waiting with bated breath for.
Days?
Oh no, not at all.
Maybe if he has a manager, maybe I'll be into it. But I don't want this to be a situation where they give the belt to Lashley so they could do a Lesnar-Lashley main event title match thing. I don't want the title on the line.
They won't go that far, I don't think.
Should RVD go into the Hall of Fame this year? Nah, he can wait. Not this year.
Don't like RVD.
No, I've never been a big RVD fan. He should go in the future. That's a guarantee. He's, ECW legend. Yeah, he's going to go in, even though I'm not a big fan of RVD. For the record, I don't hate RVD. I just think that he's overrated as hell. Like, people group him in as like one of their favorites of all time, and to me, it's like, if I were to make, say, you give me everybody that's ever been in WWE in the past, and you tell me formulate a Raw and a SmackDown roster, give me a little bit more range to add a little bit more characters, because you couldn't just be like, okay, you're down to like 20 for SmackDown. It would take a lot for me to add RVD into the mix. And even if I did put RVD into my grand scheme of things, best roster of all time for an overall WWE company, he would be at most a mid-carder. Certainly not an upper mid-carder or a main eventer. But this year, no, we've got the Dudley Boys. We don't need another ECW person.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to say, that there's enough ECW nostalgia with the Dudleys, and especially if Bam Bam Bigelow goes in as well.
As long as he gets in there, I'm happy.
Who do you guys think should induct RVD when he goes in?
Alfonso.
Sabu, probably.
I don't know if Sabu can be trusted to go out there and talk.
Yeah, he probably just going to be upset that he's like not going into the Hall of Fame as well.
No, I don't think Sabu's happening. Unless they do the ECW Legacy Award, kind of thing sometime in the future, and they induct like Sabu, Rhino, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer. I mean, Dreamer can go in on his own. I think that is a possibility. I don't think Rhino should on his own. Definitely not Sandman on his own.
No. You could have well, I guess LVD. You could have either Paul Heyman or I think maybe Kane even. Obviously,
Maybe
they had their
Dreamer.
tag team championship. Yeah,
I would think Heyman though. Heyman makes the most sense to me. What are we on there? Third one from Isaac. When you find something wrong with the WWE product, who do you instinctively blame? E.g., Kevin Dunn, Triple H, Roadhog. Roadhog instead of Road Dogg. I like that. I go straight to Vince. He's the guy who can tell somebody to do something or to not do something if he doesn't want it. And if everything has like a final say, yes or no from him, ultimately it's his responsibility.
I don't instinctively go to one person. I mean, I have a lot of vitriol towards Stephanie McMahon in terms of a creative role, but if I was to blame a group of people, I'd go with just the creative team or writers in general. Mainly the writers, because some of the material they give wrestlers they have to repeat essentially verbatim is just absolutely. It's not that it's always terrible, it just always feels so unnatural. Like, this is not how people would talk if they were actually in a situation like this. So why are you getting them to say it feels too much like an exercise of who can put the like most brilliant piece of prose together that nobody is ever going to be able to either understand or believe is actually happening in this scenario. So they're the people I usually point most of the blame to.
I blame the stupid children and their stupid sensitive moms, because if they didn't exist, we probably have a little bit more edgier and people wouldn't always walk on eggshells.
Yeah, fuck you,
Kids.
children.
Stupid kids. You're the reason we have John Cena for 16 years. Stupid kids.
Do you watch Cultaholic? I have no idea what that is.
Neither do I.
Cultaholic was the you know what Culture used to have, like, well, they still do, but they used to have like a big YouTube channel of like for wrestling.
Yeah.
That's the offshoot of the 5 main presenters, because they decided to leave What Culture all at the same time and create a new YouTube channel which they dubbed Cultaholic. I watch it occasionally. There was a big issue with one of the presenters, Adam Blompiade. He was essentially fired before the new site and channel was launched, because it was discovered that he had been essentially using his position as like a famous YouTuber to cheat on his girlfriend and ask for nudes from like other friends and women on Tinder and stuff like that.
Well, that's pretty shitty.
Yeah, I mean,
You
to
can
be
get
fair,
fired for asking for nudes?
well, it was a case of like him cheating on his girlfriend, and not. It wasn't so much like a sexual assault thing, but it's more of a case of like trying to convince these women to do it, as opposed to like when they said no, he'd still just like kind of harass them almost to do it.
Okay, because I ask Tony for nudes all the time. And I don't want to lose my job.
Well, God knows how many fucking Snapchat messages I've gotten from Urban that are just that Bitmoji with send nudes.
So
this is something to mention that I'm sure is going to be controversial opinion. I don't think that people should be fired for things that don't necessarily have to do with their job. I agree that like you're going to want to distance yourself in a situation like that, and you're going to be like, look, this is not good for our company, so we're going to release you or fire you or whatever when it comes to like a personal image type thing. But at the same time, I don't understand how everybody can jump to like, they said something that's offensive, they need to lose their job as like, I don't know, say like an engineer or something, and it's like, well, can they still do their fucking job? Like, you know, don't force them to change their career and not be able to contribute to society in certain roles. With that, it's you know, kind of different. It's just something I think that we should think about.
I mean, I'll go along the lines of saying that while I say it was a fired decision, it was kind of mutual, because Blompiade essentially decided to take himself off the radar from a social media standpoint and everything. So he's pretty much like gone away from public light now. So I think the Cultaholic people have done well to try and salvage a lot of stuff out of what was essentially the most terrible start they could, because Blompier was undoubtedly the most famous member of that group. So if him leaving was probably going to turn quite a lot of people away. But yeah, I just don't follow them as much as I used to anymore. So good on them for keeping it up, but I'm probably not going to watch as much as usual.
And since I've never seen it before, I can't really comment on it, but maybe I'll check it out now that I know that it exists.
Well,
it's not headed by some jerk.
I mean, it's pretty much the same content that you were getting from the What Culture stuff. So if you didn't like that stuff, then you're probably not going to like this stuff. But if you did, then you're probably going to enjoy it. Probably even more than the What Culture stuff, because What Culture are assholes. So.
I don't remember enough of the What Culture videos. I mean, YouTube in general to me is sort of like, I subscribe to about 20 channels, and I really only, for the most part, watch about like 6 of them. And they are, I watch like, I mean, I haven't even seen as much of these anymore, but like Collider is one of the main ones that I check out. I haven't watched Movie Talk in God knows how long. Screen Junkies is like my main one though, and they had that whole situation with Andy Signore, where he was fired and 100% in the right to fire him in so many different ways for his sexual harassment stuff. But I don't tend to watch a lot of YouTube video stuff when it ends up being a lot of the same content, because it's like, for instance, a lot of people always ask us like, what other wrestling podcasts do we check out? I can't stand any of them anymore. I already have way too much overload of wrestling stuff. So if Coldaholic deals with wrestling content, I don't think that I would be checking it out, but I'll watch it. I'll try it.
I mean, you should just be watching our stuff anyway, so.
Yeah. You're not going to have to deal with any of these like controversial issues. Anybody I've ever had in the past that's ever had any kind of sexual harassment problem, I've booted them so fast. Let's see. Last one from, who are we on? Isaac, yeah. Why does 205 Live suck so bad? Here is a couple things. I think that it is mostly one problem that creates a cycle. There's too much wrestling content right now. And when you've got 3 hours of Raw, followed by some kind of a special, maybe it's Ride Along, maybe it's the WWE 24 special, whatever the case may be, you're looking at 3.5 to 4 hours worth of material just Monday night. If you actually pay attention to when they used to do the Raw pre-show, that's another half an hour or an hour, whatever that was. Then you got Tuesday night, you got 2 hours of SmackDown. Now you've got like 15, 20 minutes of Mixed Match Challenge and 45 minutes or whatever it is of 205 Live. Then on Wednesday, you've got an hour of NXT. Technically, you have Main Event, though I don't think a single person in the world watches Main Event. You've got all the backlogged content on WWE Network, and you've got the WWE YouTube channel. That's just WWE. If you watch all that kind of stuff, God forbid it's a pay-per-view week. God forbid it's a pay-per-view that has like one of the big four, like what just passed. I am burnt the fuck out on wrestling. And if I didn't have to do coverage for it, I would have skipped multiple things this week. 205 Live not being one of them, because I was curious about the general manager situation. But I think that by the end of bunch of hours of Monday Night Raw, most people are kind of sick and tired of wrestling and they don't want to watch that much more. So not many people watch SmackDown, and 205 Live doesn't matter even as much as SmackDown does. By that point, not many people watch 205 Live because they have to pick and choose, and if they're going to watch anything, they're going to watch Monday Night Raw. So when they don't watch 205 Live, WWE thinks of that as, well, we need to invest more in the show that everybody watches, so we're going to put Raw as a priority over everything else, and then SmackDown, and then NXT, and then 205 Live. When they don't invest anything in there, they don't create interesting enough storylines, and then that means that it's not interesting enough for people to watch, so they don't watch. So then WWE says, well, they don't watch, let's not do any interesting storylines, and then it just kind of, the cycle just keeps repeating itself, sort of. It's almost like they need to care to convince us to care so that they can care, you know? Or it could just be some people don't like cruiserweights. I don't know, Dace, you don't watch 205 Live. What is it about 205 Live that you don't check out? Do you actively dislike it, or is it just a time thing?
I don't like firing up my Blu-ray player to get on the WWE Network. It's just I'm usually laying in bed around that time at night, watch SmackDown. I'd either have to go downstairs to watch it or hook up the Blu-ray player that's currently not hooked up. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna watch The Flash because I have that on DVR. So it's nothing against them. It's just nah.
When you hit 30 and you could be laying in bed eating Doritos instead.
Well, it was weird because Monday night I was actually watching Raw with Amber, my girlfriend, and I just kind of went, you know what? I don't think I'm a really big fan of wrestling like I used to be, because I fast forward through most of Raw, and it was just like these are probably really good matches, and here I am like nothing really advanced anything yet, so exit.
Well, I mean, you did just get through the Royal Rumble's very taxing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, this is a week where it's a lot of promos and shit. I mean, SmackDown, my God, everything was a fucking promo. What about you, Callum, though? 205 Live, what do you think? What's the problem?
I mean, there's a litany of problems with 205 Live. I can't really... The one that I pinpoint, I don't know if it's the same for everybody else, so I don't know what the main overarching problem is, but my issue with it is that it's not distinct from anything else in WWE. When the cruiserweight stuff first came on, you thought, oh, this is going to be a bit new and fresh and exciting, and it's going to be people competing in different matches, people and more fast paced, more of an indie style of wrestling. The main issue with that being that WWE itself has become more of an indie style of wrestling in terms of their week to week matches, with a lot of people being signed from Ring of Honor or other smaller promotions. So that doesn't really influence it. And then they start wrestling a more WWE orientated style, which after seeing the Cruiserweight Classic and then seeing what you see like on a week to week basis on 205 Live, it's like night and day. I mean, you see things with SmackDown introducing this ranking system. If any product in WWE could have used a ranking system and tried to make it work properly, it's 205 Live. Mm-hmm. You decide to make it a bit more, almost more sports orientated, like people actually earn opportunities, and you start doing things like, okay, so the person that gets the title shot of the pay-per-view is the person that's won the most matches within the space of time since the last title match, or something along those lines. And you can build certain storylines up around, like in the middle of it, with people that are kind of in the middle trying to build their way up and down the ladder. But I would have given up, like, just made a few subtle tweaks to make it seem like this is something that is WWE, but it's not what you get used to seeing. Like, I would have gotten rid of, like, I would have made the matches more, like, I give the people more freedom to put on the matches that they want to do, rather than just WWE's usual scripting of things. I'd do situations where there aren't automatic title rematches, or anything that's like so common in WWE that has made 205 Live just a really light and not very interesting version of WWE, with people that most people who aren't hardcore wrestling fans don't know who they are, and they've been on the roster for well over a year now, and most of them still don't know who they are because they don't have any character development. So it's a litany of problems. And I don't know. I'm hoping that this introduction to the new general manager in the tournament is going to breathe some new life into it, to at least generate a bit of interest. But I know I've given up on the program, and I think a lot of other people have too. So I don't know how much hope there is left for it, but I don't see it not sucking anytime soon.
And let's move on to Peter's questions. I watched top 10 list shows we secretly wanted canceled. Yes, The Simpsons were number 1. Which show do you secretly wish got canceled? I totally agree with The Simpsons. I haven't seen a single episode in a couple seasons, actually, and it's my favorite show of all time, so that's kind of sad. But I would say the same thing about Family Guy. I haven't seen Family Guy in a long time. I watched one episode recently, which was the one where Rupert is destroyed by Brian, because I had seen something online where people are like, this is the best episode of Family Guy in years, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I didn't think it was all that special. So I kind of wish that Family Guy would have gotten canceled maybe 2 seasons after they returned from getting canceled, because that's when things started to go down, as they started to get into like, wouldn't it be funny if we just did gross out humor, and oh god, I'm sick and tired of the jokes that were like cut away to something for 3-4 minutes at a time, do some kind of a singing thing. Oh god, what's that fucking song that She's My Shaboopy, I think it is. That's like 6 minutes of that fucking episode. That show is horrible to sit through. I like the knee joke, the whole like that one made me laugh originally. But Family Guy, just those first 2-3 seasons are the best, and everything else just doesn't compare. I'd also have to lump in, Dace, you might agree or disagree with me on this, Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, they keep going down the same path. I actually like Legends of Tomorrow because I really like Rory. So
Well, he's the best.
He keeps me hooked. Arrow is just nothing sticks. Like, I watch the episodes, but nothing. I don't retain anything.
I stopped as soon as they killed Laurel. I was like, all right, you're doing the Felicity thing. This is purposely because you're like, no, we have to kill off our second Black Canary because we just want this Felicity Oliver thing to work. And people are getting in the way, saying that we need to do the Black Canary thing. Now, apparently, they added another Black Canary in there. This is the third Black Canary?
Yep.
Fuck that show.
And plus, Laurel came back as a doppelganger.
So she actually is just what's it, Black Siren, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. Like, it's just, with Legends of Tomorrow, I thought that it was a fun enough concept for, like, a miniseries. And now that they do everything around here and they replace cast members and they got rid of Martin, and I liked Martin on the show, and then they just happened to get rid of Jax too. Like, why? And it's funny because they were gonna put what's his name, Wally on the show. And I like Wally. I think that he's a character a lot of people kind of shit on, but I like Wally West. And it's funny that they went like, let's get rid of the young black guy with short hair who wears a orangish yellow and red outfit, and replace him with a young black guy with short hair who wears an orange and kind of yellow red outfit. It's sort of like, well, you're just doing this like purposeful trade thing going on. I don't know. It's weird, but I don't like the whole other person that they've added this year with the extra totem girl. I don't even know her name. I'm glad they got rid of the Hawks. Didn't like them. And really, the concept in general is just at this point, we go around in history and we do stuff and whatever. I don't like history. So when it's like, we're going to deal with the 18-something fiasco of somebody doing something, nah, pass. I don't need to see any episodes anymore with like Caesar fighting somebody or whatever. I'm over it. Those are the only shows I can think of, were Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and Family Guy. I couldn't think of any other shows that I wanted to get canceled because either they already did, or they're like, I wasn't watching them or something. And another qualification is, I mean, Peter asks, which show do you secretly wish got canceled? So that rules out the things like the Kardashian stuff, because it's like, that's not a secret. I wanted that shit to not exist. Period. It's no secret. What about you guys, though? Any other ones you guys can think of that should have gotten canceled and you might feel a little bit guilty thinking about?
It's difficult. I don't really watch a huge amount of like TV anymore. It's difficult for me to get hooked into series in general. Monday Night Raw, maybe. No, don't leave that one.
205 Live, bring it back.
Yeah, I don't secretly want that cancelled, but I thought maybe there'd been far too many series of Pokemon, too many like rehashes of that, where I like the nostalgia of the older episodes, and I was occasionally go back and watch them, but then I check it out and see, oh, they're still going with this whole new cast of characters. I'm like, why are you still going? It's ridiculous. But in terms of something that people do still like, but I've kind of feel has jumped the shark is Shameless. Like obviously the Showtime series. It's the US version. Obviously the UK version went for a lot longer than the current US version has been going, but the most recent season of it has just been like the most nothing season of its entire thing. It just feels like the characters are just going through the motions rather than actually doing anything particularly pivotal or interesting. Whereas for the first 5 seasons, especially in general, it really was quite gripping as a television show. Now it just feels a bit just something to kill time.
What about you, Dace?
Maybe Gotham.
Oh yeah, fuck that show. I forgot about that.
It's going down a path that I'm like, I feel uncomfortable with. Like, I think it's a decent show, but it's like, like, how do you logically go into a city that needs Batman when James Gordon is doing everything? Like, there's no need for Batman. You have James Gordon. He's taking on the big baddies without the help of Batman now. I don't know. It just feels weird. I like
that
it,
show, man. I stopped watching that when they introduced Mad Hatter, and I was just like, all right, Mad Hatter is like 40 already. This show has put, I mean, at this point, probably everybody who should not exist yet on the show. Mr. Freeze is Mr. Freeze already. Like, what the hell? This show was advertised originally as Law and Order, but done with the Gotham City Police Department. It's the Gotham GCPD comic book series, essentially, where it would be like, let's not really have Batman in there. He's just this, like, mysterious entity that pops up once in a while, but it focuses around, like, the corruption of the police force, and it's, like, Commissioner Gordon and Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya and Crispus Allen and Jim Corrigan and all that. And it was like, if that was like a gripping cop drama, that would be so fucking awesome. But no, it turned into Fish Mooney, and they're adamant that the Joker isn't the Joker for some goddamn reason. Giant middle finger.
Jerome's coming back at the beginning of this next half, and he had just met the Penguin at the end of the mid-season finale. It feels weird. Like, I enjoy watching it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to think about it being a Batman thing. Like, if it stood on its own away from all the DC lore that I do know, it's probably a really good show, but...
Kind of like you replace the characters with brand new characters. Instead of the Joker, he's like just some guy. Instead of like Jim Gordon, it's like this is Officer like Rick Jones, or like one of those kind of things. Like,
yeah, if you like disassociate it with DC, it's like, yeah, I can see me watching this every week. But the fact that, like, after you finish an episode, you go, shit, well, they just completely ignored what they did, like, in this comic, or like, that bothers me. But yeah, I just wish it'd kind of go away. But the only fun fact is, now with Marvel owning 20th Century Fox, I think they own Gotham. So Batman on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, it's lasted longer than Inhumans did.
Yeah.
What about Walking Dead?
I'm still a fan. Well, okay, they did. Okay, I read the comic, and they took from what. Okay, spoiler alert. They took a key element from the comic and then just killed it on the show for the sake of killing it on the show. Everything I have gotten from the comic is Rick does everything he does to protect Carl, his son. The TV show decided for a mid-season finale, shocker, we're going to kill Carl. And it's like, well, then what the hell is Rick's motivation now?
They killed the kid?
They had him get bit on the side and implied that he's dead. And there's really like, he can't cut the side of his stomach off to stop the spread of the infection and shit. It's like he's a goner. But it's just like Carl has so many pivotal moments because he grows up in this kind of world that you just took him out. I can't see the show lasting much longer without him because he completely changes the dynamic. The only difference they did that's different from the comic, they kept the baby girl Judith, which is Carl's sister, alive. So that could be Rick's new motivation. But at the same time, it's like, I don't give a shit about that baby. Baby should have died like 7 seasons ago.
What if they do some kind of thing where they invent like a temporary cure and he has to keep taking it?
Then I'll probably really be mad because it's like, okay, you're the guy that gets cured. Like now all of a sudden there's a kind of a cure.
Like, I mean, I've only seen, I think, 2 episodes of The Walking Dead, so I don't know how this works, but maybe like some kind of thing where they go, he's got something weird in his blood and this kind of concoction works and now we need to really keep him alive for sure because maybe he's a secret to the cure, but he has to keep taking it kind of like an insulin shot kind of thing. And then some storyline becomes like somebody takes all their shipment of whatever that little cure thing is and they got to find it, whatever. Like,
it'd be interesting if they tried, but I think they're just writing him off because he went and cut his hair and he's already taking other projects and shit.
Yeah.
That thing that you're describing, Tony, sounds like the plot of The Last of Us, like the video game, where
I've never played it.
Yeah. It's like the idea that one of the people who like is like the female lead is has been bitten or is like suffered the same sort of illness as the ones of the walkers, and she's you've both been traced by these people because obviously there's essentially zombies, so they will attack anybody, and also being targeted by other humans to try and essentially cut her open and figure out what's making her immune from all the rest of this stuff. So it'd be like an interesting take if they were to do something like that. So like now you've got to protect him from both the zombies and the people that are trying to find out what makes you immune and how can we make everyone else immune type thing.
Is that the one with what's her name? The one that was Juno and
Ellen Page.
Kitty Pryde?
Ellen Page. Yeah, Ellen
Is
Page,
that
yeah.
Okay, it sounded a little bit familiar. I know my games. Pay attention to the gaming marathon coming up soon, where you'll see me not know a damn thing. Oh, actually, Dace mentioned this a minute ago. Did you know that Disney owns part of WWE? Actually, you didn't mention that too much. You mentioned Disney owning Gotham. That's what it was. WWE is partnered with Hulu, and Disney owns 60% of Hulu. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. They do own a little bit of WWE, kind of, I guess.
They got a contract with them.
Yeah.
WWE be like, you know what? I don't want that mouse touching my shit, and then get off of it.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen from it. But Disney does like to swallow up companies. And if WWE were to ever sell to a different company, people have talked about Fox. I don't think that that's ever going to happen either.
Mm-mm.
Disney just bought out Fox. So what if Disney would be like, I don't know, we need fucking wrestling too? I doubt it ever will come to pass, but hey.
Put it on ESPN. There's their in.
Could happen.
I wouldn't say like WWE is actually like owned partly by Disney, but you wouldn't know it considering how much they treat their audience like children. So
New gimmick match, the House of Mouse match.
Little shit going down.
I'm almost at the stage of thinking that like Disney movies are actually more adult than WWE nowadays. Like if they just throw a soul penis into like a shot or something like that.
Let's see, another question here. The Muppet Babies are coming back. Are you excited about it? What TV show or movie are you looking forward to this year? Oh, I forgot that question. I didn't answer that ahead of time. Maybe I'll do something on Fanboys about that, actually. I'm going to hold off on the part about what TV shows or movies are you looking forward to. As far as Muppet Babies go, I used to like that show back in the day. So, maybe I'll check it out. I don't know.
I love the Muppets, yeah. Muppets are... I was probably one of the few people that loved their Office Space series that they did a couple of years ago now, because that was cancelled recently. So I might check out Muppet Babies thing. I might not. It just depends on how available it is to me. In terms of movies and TVs, because I don't do the Fanboys Anonymous stuff, but if we're going to do like movies that I'm looking forward to, nothing really on the TV front, but movies I'd go with Incredibles 2, Ocean's 8, Avengers: Infinity War.
Fuck yeah.
Solo, the Han Solo biopic.
Not anymore.
And Venom as well.
Did somebody say Venom? No, not many people are going to get that joke.
I got it.
I'm glad you two are laughing then.
I was diving deep into the archive of the Fanboys area.
Yeah, we're talking like 2014 or something, I think.
Yeah.
What about you, Dace? Muppet Babies. What do you think?
I just read up on the reboot, and it's going to be targeted to 4 and 7-year-olds.
Mm.
So I mean, I'll look, and it's going to be CGI. I mean, for the sake of watching it, because anytime they reboot something, I've watched it. I watched Girl Meets World. I watched Fuller House, so I'll probably watch it just to kind of check it out. But I don't know. But as for movies, I'm really excited for Deadpool 2.
Yeah, that's another one on my list. Wasn't speaking of Girl Meets World, wasn't Mr. Feeney a Force ghost?
As old as he is, you would think.
Like, didn't they do some kind of thing where he popped up and did like the whole Obi-Wan thing? Like...
He showed up in a couple episodes. They actually went back to their old Philadelphia stomping grounds at one point, because in the show they live in New York, and they tortured the shit out of him in his backyard, and he just seems really irritated. Like, why is this new generation of kids bothering me? And I think they had to bring him back to deal with Eric too, because the Feeney call. Feeney.
If every day is Rusev Day, is every day Potato Day. I bet Rusev would crush the potatoes. Yeah, Rusev Machka. There's a National Potato Day at somewhere on the calendar, I'm pretty sure. And LOL. Jokes. Yeah, we can just move on. Nintendo announced Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon.
I didn't get to do my pun there.
Oh, you got a pun? Go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know about Potato Day, but I'd settle for a French Friday. Get it? Because it's Friday. It's French.
Ah, I got it.
I'm sad I didn't think of that. Nintendo announced Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are the last Pokemon games to be on the 3DS, and then they announced Crystal and Detective Pikachu will be released on the system. Should I ask for a Switch for Christmas, or is Nintendo full of crap? Yeah, Detective Pikachu's a movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
with Ryan Reynolds and Ken Watanabe or something like that. Crystal's coming back though. Is that
I don't.
That's going to be the Stars thing or something, I guess.
I don't know.
I thought that was supposed to be the thing.
Well, they released Gold and Silver recently. I know because I've been playing Silver. So.
Oh wait, is it like the old, like how they did Red, Blue, and Yellow?
Yeah.
Is it that? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That. I was so annoyed as well because they said that because they decided to release Gold and Silver on their own. I thought, if only Crystal was available, I wouldn't buy either of these two. I'll just buy Crystal because Crystal's the more complete and more adventurous game. Like there's more stuff to do, and then decided to just release Crystal as well. Like, fuck you! You're going to take more of my money. It's ridiculous. It's like they're a business or something. I mean, in terms of answering Peter's question, why wouldn't you just ask Switch for Christmas or birthday anyway? It's it's a really good gaming system, and there's lots of other games on it. So yeah, get a Switch as well as getting whatever you want for the 3DS as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know too much about this kind of whole thing, but I would assume that there would be some kind of compatibility between the Switch and the 3DS. If not now, pretty soon.
They had it for the Wii U. You were able to, because if you played Smash Brothers on Wii U, you could use your 3DS to play as a controller. I don't know. I would say ask for a Switch. Even if they don't come out with those games, they have Pokken Tournament DX. So you still have a Pokemon game on the Switch.
Like Super Mario Odyssey and...
That one's fun. I'm still playing that. And then they have the Splatoon 2, and they seem to be making new Kirby, Metroids, and stuff like that down the line.
finally a new Kirby? Is it going to be like actual Kirby, or is there going to be one of these dumb things like, oh, he's yarn in this one, or it's a puzzle fucking game, or whatever? Is it going to be like Superstar? Because that's the fucking best.
I know they're coming out with one on the DS this month. I think it came out, or yeah, it's still January this month. But they announced that they were bringing back a lot of the retro characters. I assume to be in a retro style type game, maybe updated graphics. But I've been burned before.
Man, I hope that they do something like that. I mean, I don't have a Switch, but just Kirby Superstar is one of my 5 favorite games of all time.
Mhm.
That game's so good. I'll listen to that song later on. Is there any traction on a Donkey Kong Country game?
That I don't know. Because Gibby does our gaming news over on our show, and I don't really listen to him. But
Well,
I
it's Gibby.
did catch Kirby was they're doing, it's called Kirby Star Allies or something. Is going to be the Switch. They talked about Samus returning to Metroid. I don't remember him saying anything about DK. I feel like he would get excited about Donkey Kong.
They need to do that. Donkey Kong Country, another one of my top 5s.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're wondering, GoldenEye, Super Mario 3, and I don't know, Tetris? I guess I don't know what I'm talking about. Do you Heath Slater toughing up? Huh? Oh wait, do you think Heath Slater toughing up will involve other ECW members? I want to see Heath tied up, blindfolded. This is going down a dark way.
Yeah.
And Sandman whacking with the cane. And some
dark.
others join in. This is like sounding more like porno
gangbang.
than anything else. Yeah.
Like
Then
WWE
he
Saw.
sees RVD and asks if he can have some, and he says no marijuana for Heath. What the fuck are you thinking, Peter? What the fuck is this? No, I don't want to see any of this. I don't know where this is going. No.
I kind of want to see it. Like, I'm intrigued.
It gives Heath something to do at least.
Like, this is going to turn into the one-man gang band. Nah, no other ECW. I think that this whole storyline is going to be dropped real soon.
Yeah, I don't think
Actually.
most of them get medically cleared to be back. Like,
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan would have a bone to pick with management if an ECW star came back.
Especially not Balls Mahoney.
Yeah. Or Axel Rotten.
Has it been 2 years since Vader's doctor said that he had 2 years of life left?
Getting really dark now, Peter. What's having a bad day at this point?
If so, WWE Hall of Fame time. Yeah, it's been at least close to the 2 years if it hasn't been already. So either Vader was just bullshitting and he was trying to get attention by playing this whole like, oh, I'm gonna die soon, you should really kind of like give me money or whatever. Or his doctor gave him the wrong diagnosis, or Vader is just lucky as hell. But I don't think in any scenario that they're just going to throw him a Hall of Fame induction. I think that he's got too many things going against him right now, and they don't really want the bad publicity a little bit. But maybe he'll get a posthumous one. Maybe he will stick around long enough and they actually will put him in there. I don't know. And for the record, I'm tired of people saying posthumously. Posthumously. That's how you pronounce it. It's not posthumous. Anyway, Vader, his situation, what do you guys think? Is he kind of looking at the end of his life here or what?
It's always been seen like a glaring omission to me that he's someone who's been like not put in the Hall of Fame. I don't really know the circumstances surrounding why he would be or what wouldn't be put into the Hall of Fame, so I'm probably not in the best position to answer that. But I think that he should be put in as soon as possible, depending on what his health situations is. I mean, apparently he's received like other diagnoses which gave him was slightly less pessimistic than the ones that he received, saying that he's got 2 years to live, and he's technically not retired from pro wrestling. So I don't know how close you could be to dying if you're actually still taking bookings and stuff like that.
Maybe it's a work.
Yeah, he could die at any moment in the ring, and that's the appeal of going to his matches, because that could be the time he dies.
It's like a Ric Flair match.
Yeah. But yeah, ideally, I'd like to see anyone who has the potential to go into the Hall of Fame going before they die, if there's ever that possibility.
Yeah.
So I hope that whatever issues he has with WWE or WWE have him is settled soon, so he can go in, because I think he's definitely one of the most deserving people that hasn't been put in that could be, especially for his work in like Japan and WCW.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna die anytime soon. It seems like it came out of nowhere. He didn't say why his doctor told me he only had 2 years to live, and I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. I think it's just Vince being Vince. Like, you know what? I didn't create you, so I'll put you in eventually.
What if like this was all a misunderstanding and his doctor was just a big fan of his character and he's like, "Doctor, do I have like any time left to live or something like that?" And the doctor was just like, "It's time. It's time." It just became like, "Oh, I guess I'm going to die." Meanwhile, he just wanted to kind of do his impression, you know. It's Hall of Fame time. Another question from Peter. Do you think Becky Lynch should have stayed off television until the Royal Rumble to make a surprise return? No, I don't think so. She had already been a regular roster member, and we already had enough surprises that we were going to be getting, so I think that they really were better off having her come back ahead of time. I think it would have been a mistake to try to make her a surprise. Everybody would have known that she would have been a part of it, you know?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't, when she made the return on SmackDown, she didn't really do anything of note. So I think she would have probably got a slightly bigger pop if she'd returned at the Royal Rumble. But other than that, there really wasn't much need for her to not be on SmackDown tapings. So either way, I think it was pretty inconsequential.
I feel it is weird the Bellas were advertised as legends for Raw. I mean, they earned the static, the statistic, I guess. But how do you feel about the Bellas as legends? Number one, they're not legends yet. Legends, to me, I think implies you're either at the very, very end of a long, storied career or you already finished it. And they're pretty active already, still. Two, though, they will be legends. They are going in the Hall of Fame. And I know that a lot of people don't really like that. Get used to it now. They are going in the Hall of Fame together. For sure.
Absolutely despise them.
But I will say this. I think that it was a mistake to have them on Raw 25. I think that their Royal Rumble entrance would have been more special if they wouldn't have shown up ahead of time. And I also think it's kind of weird that they were like, let's look at some of the legends of the WWE Raw's past. And it included not only the Bell Twins, but also Maurice and Maria. They're out with their pregnancies right now, but they're still active. Trish is a legend from Raw's past. Lita is a legend from Raw's past. Tori, Terry, Jacqueline, all those. They make perfect sense. Not Maurice, Maria, and the Bell Twins. Not now.
The term like legend is far too widely used and is thrown around far too often for people that like the Bella Twins, who definitely are pivotal and have played like an important role in WWE, especially in recent years. But I'll never classify them as legends, unfortunately. But they're definitely like a big deal. And I think they deserve to be part of the Raw celebrations because of the impact they've had in recent years. But yeah, don't ever classify them as legends, even if they do go into the Hall of Fame, because it's too big a term for them.
Daze is currently away on a phone call for a second. We're going to backtrack to him when we get a chance to, but I want to kind of hear his opinions about what happens with the Bells when we can. But we're going to move on in the meantime. What do you think of Sonya Deville being the first WWE wrestler to come out as a lesbian? Good. You know. Glad she felt comfortable enough to do it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing that I like the most about it. Obviously, like, she's perfectly in her right to have, to say whatever sexual preferences she has. It's like, we're not living in the 1930s or anymore, so yeah, let's actually accept people for who they want to like go out with. It's fine. But I like the fact that it's not part of her gimmick.
Yeah, that's good.
I I like the fact that it's like a normalized thing. It's like she's come out and said, "Yeah, I am a lesbian," and in the same way that like Darren Young came out as gay and stuff. It wasn't thrown into as part of their character, or it didn't define them, and it's taking like a good step into essentially normalizing this for people, because there are still idiots out there that still want to go along the lines of, oh, it's unnatural, or oh, I can't be a fan of this person because they're gay or whatever, or they're transsexual or something along those lines. The more that we have people like Sonya Deville that say it and just say, okay, I'm just a person who likes to date people of the same sex as me, and that's totally fine. The more people we have like that, then we can just start to normalize it, and then people won't be so fearful about having to come out in such public like domains, especially in a sporting environment like professional wrestling.
How bad would it have been if this would have been like, you got to assume Attitude Era type of mentality, where if they would have had like Sonya Deville, Darren Young, and all that, they probably would have packaged them up as some stable named LGBT, and it would have been like, that would have been their initials or something, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's even worse. I mean, for Sonya Deville and stuff like that, even if she wasn't a lesbian, she probably would have been packaged as one or something like that, or still had to do something of that ilk because of the way they were at that stage of.
Yeah, she would have been like hitting on somebody and made that person uncomfortable, and she would have been the heel, like that kind of thing, you know? Or they would have been like, oh, I'm part of the queer crew, or like some kind of thing, like.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they've moved on from that and can now just give them their own individual gimmicks instead of like having to associate everything with their sexuality. So that's a good progressive step, and I hope it continues.
So, Dace, the question on hand is, what do you think about Sonya Deville being the first out lesbian?
Good for her.
That's basically what we said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in an age where if she did this 10 years ago, it might have been a bigger deal, but now everybody's just so accepting of it. It's kind of like, all right, yeah. Shocked it hasn't happened sooner.
This is something for people that don't necessarily do it. When I do the mailbags, I always write out my questions and answers and stuff before we do the podcast, unless I don't have a chance to. And when you go on a website article, there is my original writings of what I had. And sometimes you get little snippets of things that I don't mention on the podcast. Sometimes you do. And actually, sometimes there's even questions that I don't put on the podcast and stuff. But I'm going to pat myself on the back for this thing. I typed out here, and I just realized that I typed it out. I have glad that she could feel comfortable enough to come out, then that doesn't seem to have gotten in the way of her progress. Or should I say glad with one extra A? I like that. Fucking past Tony, good job. That's fucking made me giggle. That guy has my sense of humor. Another question here. If you could take the entire WWE roster, make any team you want for the Mixed Match Challenge, and pick what charity, what would it be? He says that he would pick the woman with the autistic brother, the boss Sasha Banks, and the man I'm convinced is autistic but not diagnosed, the lunatic fringe Dean Ambrose, and their charity would be Autism Speaks. Apparently my answer when I wrote this down was that I would have actually just gone with the Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss duo, and for the charity of the Human Fund from Seinfeld. I guess I couldn't think of any. I don't have any charities, really.
I don't know any charity specifically, but I would have teamed up Zack Ryder and Dana Brooke, and then their charity would be something that's dedicated to either abandoned or unwanted children or pets. Just because it seems to fit their characters pretty well. Just passed around from one person to the next, waiting to see if they can actually find a home. Another interesting one I thought maybe like Woke and Matt Hardy and Alicia Fox. Just literally good, contain, yeah. And then they can just do something for like mental health issues. Try and make it themed, because the charity just seems to be a little bit random at the moment.
Yeah, what is like Asuka and the Miz or something like for like dogs, right?
Yeah. Well, Maurice is like a big animal lover, so I think she probably convinced the Miz to go along.
Yeah, I'm Pumpkin, that whole thing, like, yeah. I didn't think about that. Maybe Asuka, I guess, likes dogs too or something. or doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And just sort of like, no dogs
Well, she
are
doesn't
ready for
understand.
Asuka.
She doesn't understand English anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Days, what would you pair up?
Probably
You know.
Ryder and Carmella. Long Island IZ and then the Staten Island Princess.
Yeah, that works really well.
And they would play for the Daystacular Gaming for a Cause 5, which you can watch February 24th at noon.
What's the charity for this time around for that?
Still the Messages Project.
So if you want some massages, don't go there.
Yes, they're awful.
Yeah, so tune into that, everybody. Since
It's a cheap plug. I foleyed that shit.
it's I have it in my calendar because I'll be there, of course. But I don't remember what it is. The 24th.
Yes, less than a month away. Holy shit!
That's right, because we're gonna be spending from noon on the 24th until noon on the 25th, and then later on that day is Elimination Chamber. So I'm not gonna be able to sleep.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, tune in for that, everybody, if you want to watch us play games on Twitch and many, many other horrible things and horrible conversations that should not be on streams at that point.
Especially overnight.
Oh, God. When it gets to the point where it's like, what is it, like 8:30 or so is when people start like leaving and everything. And it ends up being like you and me, maybe Gibby, maybe like Urban is still sticking around and drunk off his ass, like that kind of thing. Maybe Matt Robb.
Yeah, it gets weird. Make kids.
Yeah, well, we'll get the kids to play for a little bit though too. That's another thing. Let's see. Are you annoyed at how backstage interviewers Renee and are genetic robots? Okay, yeah, that's where we're going with here. And can only ask one question and not anything else. The interview that brought this on, Joe said that Dean would be a housewife living for his wife to Renee. And all right, I know where Peter's going with here. It's basically the idea of when you get these backstage interviews and they ask one question and the people just keep talking and talking and then they leave and then the interviewer just sort of stands there. Yeah, it fucking blows. I hate the interviews in WWE.
I feel like they're phasing them out though with this new promo strategy that I don't know if I like yet or not. Where like it flashes their name and then they cut a promo and some other words pop up on the screen.
Oh, I don't like that. No.
Oh.
That's strange. I thought that was only the Usos at first.
It's been happening on Raw and SmackDown ever since we got past Raw 25.
That was so corny, that Usos promo with the prison doors keep closing and stuff like that. It's just it felt like literally I watched it and think, okay, like TNA doing the production for this episode of SmackDown, because this is the sort of thing, the sort of shit that they pull off.
Well, they do have the lockdown.
Yeah, they have it all. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't like the interviewers being so generic and I guess quite. They contain themselves. They don't have a lot of personality besides Renee Young, and even has been sort of like cut away at the knees a little bit in recent months, just because she's been given less and less to do. So I don't like the fact that they don't ask more questions or they don't show a little bit more like emphasis towards getting a conversation going with the people that they're interviewing, as opposed to just asking a question and just standing there as they answer it. But I understand that it's like a fine line to tread, because you don't want to have the interviewer overshadowing or catching the person that they're interviewing off guard, because then you start making the actual star of the segment look a little bit worse, which I've seen in some occasions beforehand, especially when like people like Gene Oakland in WCW, they were just being a bit too much. So it's just trying to find a good balance. But they definitely could be doing more than what they're doing right now.
For that matter, I also hate when cameras just pop up backstage before something happens.
Yeah, it's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, I hate that so much. So we're down to the final 3 questions here. What do you think of Wrestle Kingdom? What's your favorite match? Peter's was the 4-way, not for Will's back boobs, but because it was action-packed. What is Peter referring to here? Will's back boobs?
Will Ospreay had a couple of, well, essentially they were, I don't know what they are technically called, but essentially a couple of suction cups on his back because he was suffering from a few shoulder injuries. So he was using that to just essentially make it a bit more like relaxed and loose. Like, you know how Cesaro used to put tape on his arm, on his shoulder? Does he still do that?
I think so.
Yeah, so it was
tape?
yeah, so it's essentially something like along those lines. That's what he's referring to, but I can understand how we imagine they look like a pair of boots because they kind of did from like really far away.
I did not see that part. I really only watched the beginning. I watched that battle royal that they had, and I was rooting for Cheeseburger. And I watched, I think it was the next 2 matches or so. The Young Bucks one. I don't remember what the other one was. And I watched the Jericho Omega match, and I didn't really watch anything else. But what I saw, I liked. It was fine. Overrated, I think, by the way, the Jericho Omega match.
Mm-hmm.
Could, like, if you kept me talking about Wrestle Kingdom, I could literally like talk for hours about this stuff. It's good to actually finally have an opportunity to talk about this because I don't really get so much with us being so WWE orientated, which is fair enough, but it's nice
next
to talk
question,
about.
what is your favorite Raw moment? Continue.
I just wanted to say that I love the Jericho Kenny Omega match. I don't think it's overrated. Like, I understand the 5-star thing can just be thrown around a little bit, but I think it was like very well put together. It's one of my favorite Jericho matches of all time, and it might go down as one of his greatest matches of his career, at least in my opinion. Like, that's up there with the Shawn Michaels ladder match from No Mercy and stuff like that. So it was very good to see. The main event was excellent. There was a Minoru Suzuki versus Hiroki Goto match, which was essentially like a murder on screen. It was like it was brilliant to watch if you're not squeamish or anything like that, because essentially just 2 people hitting each other in the face as hard as they could while the other person was able to stay conscious. But the show as a whole was like, it was definitely one of the best shows. It will be one of the best shows of the year for me, hands down. And the production values and everything else associated was just as good as the wrestling as well. So, yeah, top to bottom, great show. Other than anything that was involving, like Yano. People know what I'm referring to if they watch New Japan.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no. So that's more for the audience, not for you. So,
Dace, did you watch anything other than the Omega match?
Nope, and barely watched that as it was.
Give me a Gargano Almas as best match of the year so far instead.
You WWE marks.
What is your favorite Raw moment? I feel this will be shocking. Mine is from November 22nd, not Undertaker Survivor Series debut in '90. I'm talking about 2010 when The Miz won the WWE Championship. Wrote this during Raw 25. Then another moment that has to be put on the list is Miz beating Roman for the IC title. I'll give you something that's even more shocking, actually, I think, because The Miz winning that WWE title is one of those really cool moments, but I think that's talked about a lot more than the one that I first thought of. European Championship. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. They get set up ahead of time. Sergeant Slaughter is real happy about how he's going to force those 2 to fight, and they do one of the funniest things I had ever seen at that point and since then, where they pretend that they're going to fight. They pretend that they're going to fight. The crowd is getting all like, oh, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening, right? It's happening. And they talk to China. They pretend like they're trying to get ideas of how to win the match. They lock up. Shawn gets thrown down. Triple H jumps around like a fucking idiot and pins on it. It was fucking brilliant. I love that so much, and it never really gets brought up. If not that, then Foley winning the title from The Rock. Those are the 2 I'd probably have to pick. Dace, what's one of your favorite Raw moments?
Probably, like, it's tough because the only time I get really into Raw is when it's something I don't expect to happen. So the CM Punk pipe bomb was a big one. Like, holy shit,
Ooh, yeah.
you're letting this guy just talk on a mic and say whatever he wants. That was huge to me. And I originally liked the first draft they did. I thought it was neat because you didn't really know who was going where, and it was new to the business. And just the whole draft concept has always back then was very interesting to me. Now it just seems like shit. But back then it was pretty like you got the Undertaker, you had some of the biggest names in the business there at the time when they did it. So probably the Punk pipe bomb.
The old Punk bomb. Callum, what about you?
I had like a short list of ones. Some that I watched like after the event because I didn't start watching Raw until about like around about 2004, I think. Which is weird because I started watching wrestling in 2002, but I was only exclusively watching SmackDown for a long time, so I never even knew Raw existed for a while. But obviously Mick Foley winning the WWE Championship, and there was this part during the Invasion storyline where Stone Cold comes back and he's like the old Stone Cold, and it gets one of the biggest reactions I've ever heard from an audience. Other stuff like the pipe bomb promo is big. I like the Daniel Bryan Yes Movement stuff. I thought that was like a really unique and original way of getting things going. The Nexus invasion, and one that obviously people probably be surprised to hear me saying that I thought was a cool moment. Dolph Ziggler's cash in.
See, I admit he's one of the best ever.
Yeah, he's yeah, that really went somewhere, that title reign. Like literally, it was that moment, and that's it. It's Dolph Ziggler's career. It's one moment, and then it's gone. But he had that one moment, so
That was a good ass moment. I remember being so goddamn pissed because we went to that Mania. It sucked, and then it's like the night afterward. It's fucking awesome. And apparently, MetLife might have WrestleMania next year.
Yeah.
So, there's part of me that goes, oh shit, I'm so in. When are we going to get tickets, guys? Let me just message Dace and Chuck and Dane and everybody. And part of me goes, you did that last time. They don't even have fucking good cheese fries there.
You're going to get Brock versus Roman 7.
Ugh. At least, can I get a fucking hot dog wrapped in foil this time?
No. Who do you think you are, South Jersey?
God damn it, man. You're my foil dog. And our last question here for the mailbag, and this is a good way to segue into some other topics for like the end kind of scenario. Peter asks, how are your numbers when it comes to YouTube, and is it working having the background playlists muted and everything like that? So I checked my status report for yesterday. We're recording this on January 31st. I checked it on the 30th, and YouTube is vague. They never tell you a goddamn thing when you really need to know the information, so I don't know how to interpret this. However, I clicked on the analytics, I went to the watch time reports, and I clicked on the sidebar option of last 365 days, and I calculated the amount of minutes, transferred them over into hours, and the amount that you need, according to what they had said, you need 1,000 subscribers, and you need 4,000 watch hours in the span of the last year. I had gotten an email originally that said I didn't meet those qualifications. Now, I know that I have over 1,000 subscribers, so I know that it was the watch time thing. The watch time, I had something like 3,880 or something. So it was just sort of where it was like, oh my god, you gotta give me a fucking break here. I'm just at this tip. Now, if I looked at the 365 past time frame, it ended up coming out to 4,133 hours. So, this is where I'm thinking this is going to go. It's one way or the other. Either that means that I'm good, and on February 20th, when they switch over this monetization, the channel is actually going to remain monetized for now, or this is kind of a running thing, and it's going to depend on what happens on February 20th. because there's a chance that that 4,133 watch hours, we have 20 days before they make this decision. What if in those 20 days, there had been 20 days ago, like, certain amount of hours that I don't make up, kind of, where it's sort of like, in the last 365 days, I had an average of blah, blah, blah hours per day, and that balanced out to 4,133 hours over those 365 days. And over the next 20 days, I don't meet that same average, and I end up with 3,999 hours. Does that mean that they just take it off immediately? And if on the 20th, I've gotten, 4,001 hours, but on the 21st, if I only get a certain amount of hours, and that ends up being that my average over the past 365 days is 3,999, does that mean that they just take it off? They haven't really specified that as far as I'm concerned, so I don't know if this is going to be a running tally where at any point if we go and drop underneath 4,000 hours, that they just immediately take off the monetization or what. Right now, at the very least, though, that is good news that I've at least passed that threshold in the last 365 days from now, which means there's more of a chance that the monetization is going to be kept than there was when I first brought this up. But since I don't know for sure, what I will say is when we get close to that 365 mark being the February 20th day, I would really, really appreciate it if everybody continued to do running the playlists in the background and kind of boosting up those numbers a little bit so we can see how it works. Because if we go the next 20 days and nobody clicks on any Fanboys content and we drop back down, then it's, this is all kind of for nothing, sort of. I know that I have not been doing my part putting up content on Fanboys, but that's been because I've been focused so goddamn much on wrestling, and I'm not going to get a chance to really do all that much recently. I'm going to try to figure out something to post maybe this week, even if it's just a quick little podcast type thing. And I actually kind of want to get your opinions on what is a way that I can incorporate some quicker, easier content. What would you guys like to see? But generally speaking, the idea is the background playlist stuff has helped out considerably. So anybody that has been running those Fanboys playlists, thank you so, so much. Thank you for hopefully continuing to do that when you can over the next 20 days. You don't need to run the playlist 24/7 or anything like that. Don't go crazy. But if you run the playlist, I think that the one playlist that I have just for like the movie reviews is 4 days long. So if you play up a video every once in a while, everything's going to help out. And the more people that play a video once in a while, the less that any particular one person's going to have to do. It's a standard rule of operation. If everybody lifts a finger, nobody's going to have to lift with both their hands. That's my motto for a lot of different things. So yeah, continue to support Fanboys. That'll help me out a whole bunch. And in the future, when we get to February 20th, we'll see how this works, and then we'll address things going forward like that. But the biggest thing to support outside of that is the Patreon. If you want to donate $1 a month or $5 a month or however much you're able to spare or something like that, that makes an even bigger change than you would imagine. $1 a month if a couple of people do it, especially because realistically speaking, YouTube is not really something that you can monetize too crazy, and sometimes you can go through a whole month and get $6. And if 10 people decide that they donate $1 a month towards something, suddenly you're making more money than you have ever before. So yeah, that is the status as far as the YouTube platform stuff goes. Continue to support it on Patreon. There's a Patreon for Fanboys and a Patreon for Smark Out Moment. Continue to run the playlist background stuff as much as you can. Click on any videos, share them around if you want. Let me know what type of content you'd like to see, and we'll address things over the next month. But thank you to everybody who has been supporting that. Cannot thank you enough. That kind of transitioned us into how do you want to support us with YouTube, which makes me say the following that I always say. if you want to help, subscribe. Subscribe to Fanboys, subscribe to Smark Out Moment, and also check off the little bell for notifications on both of those, because when we post new videos, then you will be aware of when those videos go up. And I will talk back to you in a second about what's happening with Smark Out Moment once I let these guys talk, because I've been rambling for a couple minutes now. So, Dace, what do you want to toss out as far as promotional stuff? And is there anything YouTube related that you want people to be aware of?
I'm kind of letting YouTube die. I've moved over to the Twitch medium, so go to twitch.tv/DaceMan and Friends. We can get the subscribers there, and the analytics there seem so much easier, and the whole 9 yards. We lucked out and got affiliated with Twitch before they went and restructured everything, so you have the ability to subscribe to us. YouTube, I never got traction with the Dace Man show, so I'll still put stuff on there, but I'm not. February 20th, I'm fucked.
And DaceManShow.com is where everything else.
Yep, you can find everything there, and the big one is the Dace-tacular Gaming for a Cause 5, which is February 24th, and we kick off the week of the 17th. So there's going to be like ridiculous amount of content coming to our Twitch the month of February, and then we'll probably drop off the face of the earth in March.
Callum?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14, and I'll just plug the weekly articles that you can find on Smark Out Moment, written by a talented team of writers that are fascinated by the world of professional wrestling. Professional wrestling. I can say that properly this time.
Professional wrestling. And the next time that you guys are going to be hearing from me from the Smack Talk side of things is going to be the hot tags. And I don't know when you're going to hear that, because, as I mentioned before in the last night's hot tags when I was recording it, I'm going to be out for a week, or actually a little bit more than a week, and not in my usual setup and stuff like that. So I usually try not to necessarily do podcasts when I'm, in a different state and everything. And I don't know if I'm going to try to do the hot tags on Sunday. It kind of depends on if I end up going to anybody's like Super Bowl parties or something like that. And if there's fucking hot tags to talk about too. If not, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll end up doing it if I can. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up skipping a week. But we are going to try to record a Smark announce table for the first ever Elimination Chamber sometime over the next 2-3 days. It's Wednesday afternoon, or actually kind of technically almost night right now that we're recording this, and we are going to maybe do that like Friday or so, but that'll be coming up a little bit later on this week. You don't have to worry about that. Those are the things that are going to be coming up next, and then after that, we're going to start getting into Elimination Chamber predictions the following week after that, so stay tuned for those things coming your way. Whatever happens, deal with it. We will see when we see everybody. Thanks for listening to this mailbag for January 2018. Start thinking about your questions you want to submit for February. We will answer them when we come around to it. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we are being counted out.